Hi, it's James Kaiko live in the Century 21 studio with a special guest. We have the full Monty here, Bill Montague. How are you doing?
Excellent. Great to be back. It's been about a year since we sat down together.
It's been a while. Now, you had, as far as full Monty standards, probably the biggest poker game on record there on Saturday.
Yeah, huge tournament. A pretty good field of players. I had a good mix of kind of some amateurs and then kind of mixed in some pretty good players.
I want to break down those players too, but you were in unfamiliar territory. Outside looking in, fourth place. A strange territory for you because typically you'll finish in the top three.
Yeah.
As a standard.
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, you know what though, James? Some days you just don't get any cards. And I'll be honest, it was miraculous to even finish fourth because I don't even think I had higher than a pair of tens all night. So I was pretty pleased with my performance. I hung in and I really pulled off some great bluffs to stay alive.
Okay, well, let's go through the players very quickly, and then you can give me a summary of the event. Start at my table. We had Joe Baiocchi. Joe seemed like he was aggressive out the gate on Saturday night and had a strong position throughout the tournament. He played very well and very aggressive.
I was really impressed with Joe. I thought that if I had to break every player down, he was one of the best players there. Really, maybe only the second time I played with him, very analytical. I thought that he did a great job analyzing the cards and the players and kind of really paying attention to the flop and the turn and then making some real informative decisions.
And maybe these two they don't warrant speaking to individually. We'll just group them together. Zach and Matt, the two young bucks. Let's just group them together.
Yeah.
My impression is they helped me out. They're on each side of me, but you know what? It seems like they knew the lingo. Maybe they watch a lot of TV, play a lot on the computer, but live action, they seem to fall short.
Yeah, they do. I mean, very seldom do they win. I mean, these guys, in our field, we call them the classic rebuyers. It's one of the reasons we invite them a lot because we know that they're going to rebuy 2 or 3 times. It's all about pot building. They talk a lot of smack, and the thing is, you're in between them. They're telling you stuff that if I were on the other side, I'd be looking at you saying, don't do it, James. I mean, it's just a bunch of crap. And it's really one of the reasons why they're usually one of the first out.
And even that, Matt, we talked to that the next day, and big thing with poker, temperament.
Yeah.
He loses his temper a little bit, or you could rattle Matt easy.
Yeah,
especially Matt.
He's got what we say the big red button. You just push it, and you know you're going to get a reaction. And some guys are able to recover from a bad beat. With Matt Saggioli, absolutely not.
Dave Pitcher seemed like he didn't make a lot of mistakes through the night. Very steady again. Very calculated.
Yeah, he's the big cat, eh? We call him, and a lot of times I like to throw him into the old litter box. But he had my number on that night. I thought Dave played a fantastic game, very patient, and he did not make a lot of critical mistakes.
Let's head to someone that's actually forgettable. Mark Beaudet. Now let me tell you something. Now Mark
He's
Beaudet,
not even worth talking about. Are you serious right now?
Let's just briefly cover this. I mean, Mark Beaudet, he's been to my game a couple of times. I do an annual Century 21 poker game. First out or second out as a rule. Now he says he does well in other, but what's his problem?
Was he second out? Again, a guy who reads a textbook, but there's a big difference between reading a textbook and reading a player. He kind of goes way too much by the book, and you always have to account for a player and their tendencies, and you look at the chip stack, what do you think they're going to do? I mean, Mark's no threat at all. I actually enjoy playing against him because I know eventually I'm going to take all his chips.
He's in the litter box.
Yeah, he's in the...
And maybe he's concentrating on making jokes or trying to be funny instead of reading the cards, reading the table or something.
Yeah, he should focus on his own game instead of telling others how to play. There's no question.
Let's head to your table. We had Tino, a friend of mine, great soccer player. Tino, maybe a little rusty, seemed to limp along the whole game.
Yeah, a little patient, eh? Too patient, I thought, when you look at Tino, that he kind of was just waiting for those pocket aces. You almost got to feel that if Tino's in the hand, just fold because he either has aces or kings. But a great guy. I really enjoyed him being there.
Tino's a good guy.
A great disposition. I thought he was a gentleman throughout, unlike maybe the guy to his right.
Okay, well, what about the two Dans? Quiet players, steady players. right?
Dan Duffy, he takes some chances. You got to be careful because he's the type of guy with a 5-2. He'll call on that, and then he just hopes for maybe a magic flop. Dan Ballstad, again, a consummate gentleman. I really enjoy him. He's a true professional. He understands the game. He maybe chases the flushes a little too much, but a lot of respect for him.
Now, a newcomer, and it was debated there, Sean Gagnon, a bit of a debate on how tough he was in the OHL and NHL that night, but seemed to be a lightweight at the poker table.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he talked a lot of smack, and you talk about a heavyweight. I mean, he talks about it, but, I actually looked up his penalty minutes. He had 50 penalty minutes in the NHL. Danny Lambert had 1,400 penalty minutes.
Led the NHL one year.
Well, now Danny is a tough guy. I mean, you don't want to confuse the two. One guy played, one guy played almost 500 NHL games in Lambert. But so then when you get to the poker table, I thought the Gagnon definitely a lightweight. He talked too much, and he really did not have a feel for what was actually going on in a hand, and you knew that eventually you were going to take, again, all his chips on one shot, and that's the key to being a good player and a bad player. Doyle Brunson always said, you have to have a lot of patience and well-timed aggression, and Sean Gagnon had neither.
Lastly, the executioner. You know what? I noticed, and this is my first time having the privilege of playing with your group, but the executioner, Savino, he seemed to have a style very similar to yours. That was my impression.
Yeah, no. There's no question. When Savino is by far my biggest adversary. He's a great player. He plays a lot like me. I think that, if you had to see this 1 and 2, obviously I'd be number 1, but he'd be number 2. And he's a guy I have a lot of respect for. Very patient, analytical, and Mike Savino, like me, James, he will never throw all his chips in on a hunch. He knows.
He's calculating.
Yeah, and sometimes you have to fold a good hand, and Savino has that ability. I love playing against him. Normally, he and I are heads up.
Okay. And do you want to?
I want to talk about you, James Kaiko. I thought you, young fella, you had a great game for a guy who hasn't played a lot. I sensed a bit of jitters in you early, and then you took Zach down right away. You took all his chips, second or third hand of the tournament. I wish I was at your table to counsel you a little bit, just a little more patient. I'm not sure what happened, but I thought you had a tremendous performance. A lot of room there. You're only going to get better.
Thanks. And I lean on you for advice. Yeah. That's the best place to go.
I'm always here for you.
Do you want to do a little last person we didn't talk about? We talked about you at the beginning of the program, but anything else you want to say about your game or how?
No. I thought again my best hand might have been a low pocket pair. I hung in there. I finished
overachieved.
Yeah. I mean there's no way I should have been fourth, but I think when you look at my experience and all that, it got me there. I wish I could have threw a few more guys into that litter box. I mean, I love the litter box, and I had it cleaned out and ready to dump some people in there. But at the end of the day, it just wasn't to be this time. But I'll be back, and I'm looking forward to another competition.
Okay, last analysis of the Joe came out on top there, and who are the top three? Any
Joe Baiocchi was number 1, Mike Savino 2, and the Big Cat Dave Pitcher was 3.
Okay.
And 3 real
Any
good
last
guys.
thoughts on the game? It was.
No, I thought, hey, what a field of players. We had an unbelievable pot. I think, James, it may have been our highest pot ever, and we've been playing for a lot of years. So, you know what, I hope that we can keep this going, and I hope that we can get you back.
Well, I'd certainly consider coming back, and thank you for having me, and I look forward to playing with you guys again.
Oh, thanks, champ.